I'm the speaker of work group in vehicle communication. My name is Richard, and I've got some features for you that we basically introduced in this release. But before I come to the first topic, I'd like to say a hearty thanks to the team. Basically, thank you for all your collaboration, basically, and thank you for doing your part. You're awesome. And now to the first topic, which is we start with adaptive platform with service discovery harmonization. You might remember the slide if you joined last release. Last release, basically, this was about the classic platform service discovery software module, basically being harmonized and cleaned up with regards to the protocol, since there basically was a lot of duplicate specification and so forth. And the same was this release done for the adaptive side. So for the service discovery part of the SRBS communication management in adaptive and the protocol. And this might be a little bit smaller part, but nonetheless, I wanted to mention it here because I would like to show you that we continuously follow up with cleaning up the spec, also with regards to SAMLP and service discovery. And the lookout here is also quite important, that also next release we will take care with this, with a SAMLP harmonization, and will have leaner and clearer specification in a continuous process. Now, for the next part in adaptive, I'm actually very proud to show this because there have a lot of people been involved into this. We have a new adaptive platform, Aracom API explanatory for you. That's basically available for you more or less for free. And as you can see here on the screenshot in the history, it's fully reworked, so from scratch, with introduction fundamentals, detailed API descriptions, extra tutorials, and if you need more background because you're new, with a detailed appendix. And also what I can proudly announce is that we have some further technical slide sets that we're currently working on that are already quite big and that we would like to release also next year. And with this explanatory, if you stumble upon AUTOSAR and you're basically new and you're interested in Aracom, I would highly recommend you to throw a peek into this document because this is extensive ramp-up material for new members in AUTOSAR. And I think every young field application engineer that basically stumbles across AUTOSAR should have a look into this. All right. Now, we crossed two topics for adaptive platform, and I would slowly transition also to adaptive and classic. And basically, big new feature is MACsec being introduced and supported by AUTOSAR. And basically with MACsec, secured communication MAC is introduced. Basically, that can then be provided by the hardware. And for the purposes of this, in classic platform, the specification is quite detailed with quite some number of new configuration parameters. And a new document here to mention is the MACsec key agreement module, so for the MKA. And also quite some enhancements for the Ethernet documents that are involved. In brackets here, I put the number of the new functions that were introduced. And I want to mention here also for the SRBS Ethernet interface that there are 34 new functions. So you really have some material to play here during configuration with. And for the adaptive platform, it can be said that MACsec is supported, the use of MACsec is supported in the communication management spec. However, there is no detailed specification yet. This is to be followed up in 23-11, and this was also planned. All right, now we have the MACsec, and there's plenty more to come. So let's go to the next topic here. The CanXL, basically what was also introduced in 22.11 is the support of CanixL. And this is quite a thing. Basically, everything, all the content came in as valid. So basically, there will be no dramatic changes to this specification in upcoming releases. It's the most important information for you. And basically, how does it work with CanixL? Well, on classic platform, you have the full possibilities of CAN communication and Ethernet communication over CanixL. And on adaptive platform, basically it's just Ethernet frame tunneling or Ethernet communication. And I was hinted at to mention this because it is still not yet possible in adaptive to purely communicate over CAN. All right. And really the most important thing here is this content comes in as valid already. So it's really stable and safe specification. Safe from changes in the future. That's all right. We're still not finished. We still have something new to bring here. And this might seem as a little bit interesting to you, but I guarantee you it's worth it. We have a new data distribution service module on Classic platform. Short for DDS, that's maintained by the OMG standard. And what we have here now is a new SWS DDS module that's introduced in the Classic platform ComStack. And for the approach, since DDS is quite different than some IP, a monolithic approach was chosen so that unserialized data gets forwarded by the PDU router to the DDS module. Now, you might tell me, wait a moment, Richard, why are you writing just Classic platform here? The DDS module is already existing in adaptive platform also. Well, because for now, there were no cross-platform use cases here, and basically the evidence colleagues here who introduced this into AUTOSAR, first of all, wanted to make it fly that there is really this module in 22.11 in Classic platform, and that it basically plays well together with the current COM Classic platform stack. However, I insisted that we also have at least a common ground with the adaptive platform, and therefore we also now have a requirement specification DDS, short RSDDS, which basically migrates or maps basically the high-level OMG standard requirements with the implementation or support in AUTOSAR, and also with regards to adaptive and Classic platform. The whole thing is followed up in 23.11 with the validation of this new module as a highest priority. And then, of course, also with some cross-platform communication use cases for Classic platform and adaptive platform over DDS. All right. Whew. That were some topics, right? Well, we are not yet finished. As with the beginning, I'd like to add here for Classic platform also a rather smaller change, but there's more behind that. We also introduced basically on the key term deterministic communication with time-sensitive networking, short TSN, as a first step, some means for stream identification and pre-stream filtering and policing. And that was just to generally support different kinds of filtering approaches. And the changes were done in Ethernet documents, the driver and the switch driver, and only new ECC parameters were introduced. All right, that's good to know, but you're saying this is maybe a rather smaller change. Well, I'd like to hint you at that basically with the whole TSN concept currently in AUTOSAR and the whole work ongoing, that for 23.11 there will be some major architectural impacts for the Classic platform ComStack. One of the keywords, for example, is the tunneling legacy communication with the IEEE 1722. All right. And I simply want you to be aware that next release will probably also be a bigger one. All right. Whew, 10 minutes, almost through. So the next slide says basically the same. Here it says, that's all, folks. Thanks a lot.